What's up guys, Ron from Ron Ready Law, and in this video we're going to talk about over $40 million unaccounted for, possibly fraudulently transferred overseas, and it's all happening in crowd sharing real estate. All right, if you haven't heard the news now, the Department of Justice, the Securities and Exchange Commission is investigating Nightingale Properties. Their CEO has transferred over $40 million. And a big chunk of this, about $25 million, comes from CrowdStreet, where individual investors maybe put $10,000, $25,000 into an investment. Now, where this is interesting is that from a legal perspective, if he hasn't actually admitted to the purpose of the transfer, nothing has actually occurred that's illegal. I agree, it looks bad, and for this guy, he's probably got another passport, and this money is offshore, and we're never going to hear from him again. He's going to emerge with a new passport, a new face, maybe a new hairstyle. You're never going to see him. So for $40 million, you can buy a lot of options, especially in foreign countries. Now, as we look through some of this information, the biggest red flags to me was that the sponsor here never closed on two of the buildings that they raised equity. And it really seems like negligence on the part of CrowdStreet by releasing the funds to the sponsor before closing. It's really kind of 101 that you've got to control your money at least until they're going to close. I think it's pure negligence on the part of CrowdStreet. You should have waited and transferred this to the title company. You should have transferred to an escrow agent. And again, even if they're concerned about speed, you could transfer it to an attorney. There's a lot of third parties that could be more responsive than giving this cash, $25 million, directly to the sponsor in this deal. So let's look at this. There's two deals. Atlanta Financial Center. This is a 900,000 square foot office, and there's a 140,000 square foot office in Miami Beach. These two deals, they raised money. They took equity from investors and didn't close. You look at some of these transfers, and they transferred directly to accounts controlled by him personally. This is Elie Schwartz. They said $37 million was paid to Schwartz personally or to his controlling entities, and then that money was subsequently transferred out. From a legal perspective, if I'm putting on my best defense, okay, this guy, he's got a lot of explaining to do. However, you can't convict him on fraud. You can't convict him on theft or conversion, whatever some of these criminal charges. All you have is really just kind of a breach of contract. And even then, until he is found liable and this works its way through the court system, nothing really illegal or a breach of contract has occurred with this transfer. He may be able to come back with some fabulous explanation backed by legal documents explaining this transfer. And then if the money comes back, I won't say it's no harm, no foul, but a lot of this concern will be over if the money returns. However, we looked at this. Atlanta Financial Center had just $1,500. I mean, they really cleaned this one out. I think $1,500 was probably just to avoid the bank service fees. They didn't want to get charged the monthly fee from Chase. This is really an interesting sign. I think that anytime you have a lot of money and you have weak controls on transferring those funds, you get bad actors like this. Because I'll tell you, I talked about this in my other scams, my other fraud scenarios. What could you look for? If you're an LP, if you're thinking about partnering with somebody, what could you look for that would prevent this? And unfortunately, my answer as a lawyer is yes, there's a lot in the legal documents we can look at, but fraud and outright theft, there is nothing that you can do to protect yourself. You've got to try to meet this person. You got to put eyes on them. I don't know what your test is for somebody's trustworthiness, but at the end of the day, there is no legal protection for fraud. And so, random side note, but I invest directly in industrial real estate. This is one of the reasons that I invest directly. I would rather lose 100% of my own money due to my own mistakes than giving it to somebody else and having them steal my money. I don't know. There's something about me that says I would rather learn from the experience. I would like an opportunity to do this, but I know that when I invest in myself, my odds of fraud or theft are zero. The odds of myself stealing from my own, bank account is zero. And anytime you transfer money to third parties, you have a risk. And I get it. It's probably pretty low. There's hundreds of LP investments made every month, but that risk is not zero, whether it's 5%, 10%. And then you see stories like this. And when the numbers get too big, it really provides a temptation to these sponsors to take all the money, transfer it overseas, and emerge with a new passport, right? This guy is still going to be flying around. He's going to be able to come into the US. I think that 40 million was just a little bit too much of a temptation. So we'll see how this story shakes out. It's really not looking good, I would say right now, but we'll see what happens. So if you're interested in more commercial real estate and lawyer reacts, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time.